Hello and welcome to the Ancient Mother Spiral. I wanted to come in and share a little bit how this body of work has emerged within me. Let me first say that there was a deep shift in consciousness in 2019, which I've written elsewhere, into discovering who I am beyond and before all roles, which catapulted me in a dark night of the soul. And at the time that was happening, I was pregnant my second child. And in this dark night of the soul, I was suicidal and pregnant at the same time. But by that stage, my spiritual journey has embedded and integrated enough to have enough faith to hold me. And one of the messages that I heard during that period was, grace is whispers. You are purifying from the inside. Simply trust. I always had that capacity to be open to conversation with the beyond. What my class or want to name this beyond, it's a very individual thing. Some people call it God. Some people call it the Creator. I have got my own ways of attuning, but truly it's our deep heart, or what I call in my body of work the honeyed heart, what ancient Greeks call the melicardia. Meli is honey and cardia is the heart. Of course, I didn't know what I was emptying off apart from stories that no longer served me. That was my second child. And fast forward, I had all the plans to have plans to do something with life. And life gifted me a surprise third baby. My spiritual practice is continuing. I was integrating a lot of dark primal material at the time. And I thought that was it. But no. Life had more plans for me. I'm sharing my birth stories because they're inextricably linked with the body of the Ancient Mother Spiral as a framework. Because it's a framework that led from my own direct embodied experience, led me to a profound state of unity consciousness and interconnectedness of all beings, as separation inside my heart dissolved and melted, as the inner and outer has melted like wax, has melted like syrup, like sweet honey in the heat. And so that was the time that Present Center Psychotherapy was birthed. I had a whole year of hiatus, sitting with the mystery, because life is all about sitting and letting go of our little egoic selves and allow life to speak through us in her mysterious and magnificent ways. And we humans want to be in control all the time. It's definitely something that I've struggled a lot, and I still have to be vigilant to my mind when I notice it moves that direction. My surrender baby. That's the next stage in my life. By pregnancy number 2, I would say there was an embedded Shiva consciousness, we can call it. The witness, the silent witness was well embedded by then. But motherhood was taking a toll, and my second maternity leave was extremely tiring. I was very exhausted. I had a dramatic birth. I moved from Samadhi, expansive states of consciousness, from my first birth to the dark night of the soul with my second birth, and then forced by life to this embodied surrender with my surprise baby, which has an unbelievable story of how it's come about. and life clearly showing me in very miraculous ways that this baby was meant to come. And when this baby arrived, I was already exhausted by baby 2. And here I was again, nursing another third girl, which I'm grateful. I'm grateful that she's here. And I guess motherhood broke me into this fierce embodied surrender. And I remember one day breastfeeding her on the sofa of my sunroom. With dark eyes, I wasn't sleeping. I had the other 2 to look after. There is no village or family support, and that has forged and shaped the body of my work and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I was listening to Rupert Spira, a spiritual teacher at the time, who was talking about this still place inside of us. So although I never joined any groups or followed any gurus, I was listening and attuning and following my inner instinct, my inner wisdom. It kept pulling me back. Only I didn't know what for this time, probably for the joy of it more than anything else. But there was still something that was longing to keep returning to this truth. And I remember feeling, no bloody male guru talks about motherhood and what a portal it is and what a catalyst it is to our awakening. So the moment that truth landed in my body, I felt this electric current. I had my spontaneous Kundalini awakening back in 2018. But this was not a Kundalini awakening. That was Shakti. Shakti landed in my gut, in my hips, in my womb. And it felt electrifying. I was actually activated to my rage, to my passion. And I rose up, stood on my own, holding my baby into an empty house. And I said out loud, no one talks about motherhood being a portal to awakening. So this then birthed a community that I very temporarily held, One Heart Parenting. And here I was again, spreading myself too thin in too many directions. It's exactly what needed to happen. And as this baby was growing and my surrender was deepening, and I was forced, I guess, to even deeper stillness. I need a bit of a catapult force sometimes, personally speaking, to bring me to this place. And I was surrendered by this stage. When I was ready then to return to work, my body would refuse. So I returned to work for a couple of months, but I could no longer continue to live the life that I was, so that fast-paced life. And with my neurodivergence unmasking, ADHD the first time round with my second baby, and this time my ASD, or that's how they call it. To me, it's a fierce attunement with the body's wisdom, presenting as we can call it neurodivergence. Actually, neurodivergent brain, I feel, it's a very decolonial by nature way of living reality. So I shut down. I became nonverbal, but my faith was intact back then, so it was even stronger this time. I just had no idea what would come from it. And as this surrender was deepening and I was beginning to feel that there's no way out here now, I'm called right in. I took some days off work on sick leave, what society wants to call sick leave, or burnout, but what my soul named as burning through. And I wrote a blog at the beginning, just after my shutdown, my verbal shutdown, and my mind came online a little bit. That was the first inklings of this creative energy bursting through. I've written a Substack blog about this. And that was it. The beginning and the opening of a rapturous rebirth of my soul that I very willingly welcomed. I stayed in total 9 months of a gestation period, and that's important. And I'm sharing this because I really want to share that all that I offer are not just concepts that I borrowed from somebody or from a book, are direct lived experience. And what we need more than ever is to land and trust fully our own spirit and how she wants to emerge through us. In these 9 months, something opened in my psyche and I began pouring poetry. I was taken and possessed by the muse. I traveled in archetypal forces. So much alchemy and composting. I connected and cleared ancestral traumas. I connected with the womb of existence. Again, I didn't know of any writings out there. It was all inspiration. It was gifting me. Spirit was gifting me poetry. I had extensive periods of Samandi, unity consciousness, far too many mystical experiences to even talk about. There's no need in me to go in depth about these experiences yet. And any remnants of separation melted inside of me. Of course, that shifted my work even deeper, because I see me in every client that walks through the door, in every supervisee, I'm shown mirror. Where else is left to look? What other parts are left on exile that need to return home? And an embodied living gnosis that we are interconnected with each other. And although my outside life for the last 5 years had shrunk into an accidental mystic's urban mama's life, relationship fade away, so much fade away, and I came back into myself, and that seems to be my role in life, my mission for now. I have this solitary nature, but I have felt connected more than ever with the whole world, with the trees, with nature. I became one with our earth. I became so porous, and it was very overwhelming for my system to integrate. And so my body's intelligence was bringing an emptiness from external stimuli, because I was being kneaded like bread in the oven of my soul, brewed like wine in the basin of my soul. So that was the time I channeled 2 anthologies. And I'm only voicing this because I need to reclaim my story. There's no owner of a story here. Everything has died. But for some reason, life keeps bringing me to want to voice this story clearly. So I'm following the impulse that arrives. So that was my book, Honey and Ash, Mother's Alchemy of Burn and Bloom, gifted from life. All profit goes back to life. And I thought that was it. And I can be very blind, very slow as a learner. And during that gestation, I was considering whether to return back to my academic role. I've been a psychotherapist for 17 years, holding groups for more than I can remember. Supervisor, a trainer of therapists and supervisors. I was never a conventional psychotherapist. I was very decolonial in my way of being anyway. But that's gone even more apparent, because that's the true nature of who we are. And one day I I felt this density, which I now recognize is like a birth, actually. It's like a baby waiting to be born. I feel it sensory in my system, a dense energy. Something was waiting to be born, and I didn't know what it was, but it led me to a genuine prayer. Although Spirit had asked me to make an altar, I was never the person that I would bow to any gurus, or I'm very sober about empowerment. We don't need any more teachers. We don't need any more gurus. We are the person that we seek. And that person is inside our own heart, bone and marrow. So all I am for people is a clean mirror back to that dimension, that beingness. And after that sobbing prayer to elders in the spirit and guides, and I asked, show me the map. What map am I to carry in the world? Of course, the answer I got is very simple. Your map is here already. What are you seeking? Who can forget so quickly? And the map was the process of my book. And the structure of my book is the spine of my book. Arrived when all this poetry was coming, and I asked Spirit, how am I to structure it? How am I supposed to bring, my linear brain had died. It still is dead, but it's emerging from the different place, a more deeper place and present. And the message I got was very clear. Well, you're a mother and you have birthed 3 children. Your birthing of your children is the same process as the birthing of your soul. So that's how the stages, the rites of passage in the ancient mother spiral were birthed, the awakening of the great mother, the gestation of a seed and the growth, the contraction in birth, and the contraction and the descent in the dark goddess. We cannot bloom without the dark. People are scared to feel. And we need to move beyond that fear now as a society. And then we move into the surrender, and then the holy union. The Hieros Gamos, the last stage and rite of passage in my ancient mother spiral. And a place I know very intimately within my own self. Very intimately. And yeah, that's what I heard. Your map is here in my book. So that night, I suddenly, after the kids came back from school, I became unable to walk. All of a sudden, my lower body went, some nerve trapped in my back. I had to crawl the steps up to my bathroom and ask my son to turn on the tap. I knew there was if I did another sudden move, a nerve would go, and that would be a very dangerous thing. So I filled the bath, I put the salts in, I went into the bath, and I noticed my body was moving as if it was birthing. So I tuned in and I asked again, what is this? What's happening here? And I heard, you're crowning. Your spine has arrived and you're now crowning. I heard, I listened, I observed, which is what I've done for life. I let go. And that night, because when I heard your map is here, I felt this electric current of energy descend into my body. I think that's what knocked me out, and my back, clearly the light energy was too much, maybe for my system to hold. And that night, I began channeling for 5-7 hours. All the stages, all the information. Actually, a friend of mine shared a prompt with me, which was asking the questions, what is this and what that means, and how do we know somebody's in that? And I was voice recording, and I was writing and speaking for 5 hours. And after all, it was birth. I was like, well, what's this now? How shall I call this? And I heard again, you're a mother. You've been tapping my poetry book. It was all in my poetry book, talking about the ancient wisdom, the womb of the great mother, the archetype that's so alive in me, and the archetype that I keep loving to return to as the source of wisdom and the source of holding. Unbeknown to me, she has held me throughout my life. Since I recall me, since my early years, she would whisper things in my ear to hold me, to help me see beyond the conditioned mind, to help me see the trauma in my caregivers who couldn't say what I could say, who couldn't feel what I could feel. So she's always been with me. So the Ancient Mother Spiral, it's a brief story of how it's been born. I am in the shadows again, sitting in the mystery of how life wants to move it forward. Because it's not mine. And yet it was birthed through me. A holy child of mine. But I offer that to people. If people feel called, a deep journey. I'll put some more information on my website. You can have a look. I've got a group formed. I'm already feeling, which I've been resisting to do anything with that for some time. And I kept receiving that I needed to move to that direction. This is not an easy job for me. I'm breaking chains of intergenerational silencing. So to move out and to step out of my familiar comfort zones is not easy. It might look like that from where you're looking through me, but it's challenging. I'm working on myself all the time. And I long for that to be co-enriched and co-created with other humans and to have its own life. So that's my prayer for the map I'm gifted. If you want to join our group, you're welcome. I post some sharings and some explanations of what the stages mean and some more analytical. I've got an analytical mind for a reason. I'm here to bring these maps through. And I would love to have you in the Ancient Mother Spiral Facebook group. I needed to tell the story, her story of how she was birthed. A bit like in the birth registration process, where I voice the integrity from which this was born. And thank you for listening in.